Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first virtual social emotional learning lesson. My name is Miss Curry, and I am a youth development specialist at Penway Alternative School, where I work with both middle school and high schoolers. But this SEL lesson is for middle school, and it is on responsible decision making. So we will have these lessons once a week. Very excited to get us kicked off with this topic. So just a little bit about what is to come. We are back in action. Yes, so excited. There was a brief interruption, but we are going to get everyone back on track with these lessons because we know how important social emotional learning is for the developing brain. We know how important it is for all of you to keep the sense of normalcy, to keep us all on track. We're so excited to dive right back into these lessons. What they will be is basically just virtual lessons like this, where you can hear my voice or a different youth development specialist voice going over these lessons. But you will be seeing the Google Slides that are on your screen right now. They should be less than 10 minutes. They will be fun. They'll have some things for you to think about, some things for you to learn, but also maybe some challenges for you to consider as you start your week. So very excited to embark on this journey with you all together. Before we do that, I just wanted to start with some deep breaths. Usually a little bit about how I usually do SEL lessons with my middle schoolers is in a circle format where we're all looking at each other and chatting about certain topics. But I like to start with these deep breaths. So let's all just take one together and breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And I want us to just check in emotionally on how we're feeling. I know a lot of you are used to checking in with your teachers, your counselors, face-to-face, weekly, or maybe even daily about how you're doing, but I wanted to just have a moment for us to do this together. So how are you feeling? A lot is going on in our world, and I want you to just check in and see how you're feeling. How are you finding ways to stay connected to friends and family during this period of separation? And what ways are you practicing self-care? Are you getting to take a walk around your block? Are you able to bike ride around your neighborhood? Are you FaceTiming loved ones? Are you reading your favorite book? How are you taking care of yourself in all of this? All right. So as I go into my SEL lessons, I usually like to start about defining what it is we're talking about. So what is responsible decision making? And I have this very meaty definition right here in front of you, and I'll read it with you. The ability to make constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions based on ethical standards, safety concerns, and social norms. Essentially, all aspects of a potential decision and its consequences must be considered before a choice is made. To make the most appropriate behavioral choices, students need to learn how to evaluate the situation, analyze their options, and consider the potential consequences of each of those options for themselves and others. This is a lot of words, I know, and maybe you don't think that you think about all of this stuff when you make responsible decisions, but you probably do. Our brains are so intelligent. Our brains are awesome, crazy organs in our body that are just capable of incredible things. So as we go through this presentation, I'm going to kind of break down this definition as we talk about the different ways that you can make a responsible decision and the things that we think about as we do so. So let's start with saying this mantra together. I can take responsibility for my actions. I can make wise decisions. The best thing about social emotional learning, in my opinion, is that it is like a gym for your skills. It is, all of these are muscles that we're working on, kindness, empathy, responsible decision making, all muscles. It doesn't matter where you are today in your journey with responsible decision making. It doesn't matter if you've made 100 bad decisions in your past. It's, what will that next decision be? How are you going to continue to grow? How are you going to continue to make it better? So I want us to say this together, and it might sound silly, it's talking at your computer, but it doesn't matter. I want us to do it anyway. I can take responsibility for my actions, and I can make wise decisions. I think the first step in making a responsible decision is acknowledging the fact that we have the power to do so. Some vocabulary for today, since we already defined responsible decision making. This other one is integrity, and you might have heard this word before. but it is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. When I was in middle school, one of my favorite teachers had everyone in our class define what integrity was. And I remember her putting this on the board, doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And she told us that this is one of the most important words that we'll ever need to know, because if we could act with integrity in everything that we do, that we will succeed and we will go very far. So I think that this is especially important during this time of extended e-learning, because we're not physically going to school every day, but we're still responsible to do schoolwork and to learn and to kind of keep up with the material. And it takes integrity to do a lot of that stuff. It takes integrity of doing the right thing even when your teacher isn't in the same room as you, asking you to do it. So keep that in mind as you go through this period of extended e-learning, but also as we go through this presentation of why is it important to have integrity and why it's important to act with integrity. So this is just a lot of things to consider when making a decision. And if you consider all these things and you kind of choose the right path, it is more likely that you will make the right and the responsible decision. So first is who will be impacted, right? Is it just you? I want to let you in on a little secret. Most of the time, it is not just you that is impacted by a decision. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's your friends, maybe it's your teachers, your counselors, your administrators. Other people are impacted by the decisions we make. So an important first step is to think about, who will I affect with this decision? Second, what are the benefits, right? What are the pros? And next, what are the trade-offs? What are the cons? I always like to think when I'm making a decision of kind of a pro-con list. Sometimes I write it out on paper. And sometimes I just do it in my brain, but it is important to think about, what are all the good things, the positive outcomes that will come from this decision, and what are the negative outcomes that might come from this decision, to really help me weigh my options. When making a decision, we should also consider, how much time do I have to consider my options? Sometimes we have to make really quick decisions, and we only have a couple minutes. Sometimes we have only a couple hours. Sometimes we have days. Sometimes we have weeks. It really depends on the decision. So considering how much time you have is an important step in the decision-making process. And finally, ask yourself, is this a decision I can feel proud of? Is this a decision I can feel proud of? It's so important to ask ourselves that question, because a lot of the times asking ourselves that question can really affect what decision we end up making. You might think through all these steps and then finally at the end be like, I don't think I'd be proud of the decision that I'm making. And that could cause us to make a completely different decision than the one we initially started out with. I like to tie this last one to values. What are your values? Maybe it's something you think of a lot. Maybe it's something that you don't really think about a lot, but everybody has values of some kind. Maybe you value being a loyal friend. Maybe you value being very honest or being loyal to your family. Maybe you value respect. Maybe you value integrity and doing the right thing when no one's watching. Ask yourself, are my values aligned with the decision I'm making? Whenever I have circles with my middle schoolers, I always have a closing question. And I know that we're not all together right now, but maybe you can just take a minute to pause this video and have a discussion with your siblings or your parents, or the people you live with, and think about the next time you have an important decision to make, what will you consider? Think about those steps that we went over. Think about your values. Think about that word integrity, right? Doing the right thing even when no one's watching. Like I said throughout this video, we are constantly making decisions. Big ones, small ones, medium ones, constantly making decisions that affect us and that affect others. So the next important one that you have to make, right? Maybe not just what you'll eat for breakfast tomorrow, but the next big important decision. What are the things that you will consider as you make that decision? So I wanted to leave you with this. Take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and make your bed. And I'll explain what I mean by this. There was a Naval SEAL Admiral, William McRaven, that had this very beautiful speech about making your bed every single day. And a quote from that is, if you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task and another. And at the end of the day, that one task completed will turn into many tasks. I think that that's a really awesome example of a small responsible decision that you can make that could impact and affect the rest of your day, and in turn impact the rest of your week and the rest of your month and the rest of your year and so on. Sometimes we don't always think about when we wake up what making our bed will do for our day. But it is a choice that we're making, right? It is, are we taking pride in our room? Are we taking pride in a sense of cleanliness of the spaces that we inhabit? And this guy says that if you do that, that it will lead to another task and another task and another task, so that you will just have an overall more productive day. I think that that's something that we can all try, especially this week as we take on another week of e-learning. Kind of having that first task completed in the morning might set us on a path of productivity for the rest of the day. And Admiral McRaven also says at the end of this, he says, even if you have a terrible day, at least you'll have a made bed to get into at the end of it, which I just think is a nice way to kind of create that thought. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. My challenge to you is make your bed every single day when you wake up, and see how productive that makes you as you go on. Make responsible choices, and have a great rest of your week. I am very thankful that you went through this lesson and that I got to share this with all of you, and I hope to make another one for you all soon. All right, goodbye.